Hello, hello, and welcome to Self-Care is Sexy. My name is Chris, and I'll be your host. We're a podcast that's here to generate and share self-care ideas with each other. On my last episode, I went over the top 5 mistakes beginners to self-care make. You can check that episode out on iTunes and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes. I want to give you a quick preview of what to expect from today's show. Today, I'm going to be talking about reentry self-care plans. You know, as things are starting to open back up, these vaccines are rolling out, and it seems like maybe we're nearing the end of COVID, I'm going to help us remember self-care as we re-engage with socializing and getting back into the world again. But first, a few quick housekeeping notes. All right. So today, I want to talk about self-care as we kind of re-enter society. You know, everything's opening back up, and we're all going to be interacting pretty soon. And so today, I want to help you make a plan about how you're going to actually re-enter the world. Just to give you a quick sesh to plan how you're going to jump back in, because I want to jump back in so bad. I've missed people and all the things. But I think this is a good time to kind of check in on our own self-care and just make sure that that's on track as we re-engage. So let's talk re-entry. Now, if you've listened to the show for any amount of time, you know that I dig Burning Man. Even though I've actually never been, it's a super bucket list thing for me. But I love a lot of burners, and I miss you friends terribly. And, you know, I've been to our Portland, our regional events like the Shift Festival. And, someday I will make it to the playa myself for sure. But even having never been, I still love the principles, and I do believe in them. I think the blueprint that Burning Man has created, like the value system, it's just solid, and it's amazing. If you want to look that up into more detail, it's called the 10 Principles of Burning Man. Just Google it. And even though it's not clear yet whether or not we're going to have Burning Man this year, it is clear that these principles they've developed, they're more than just guidelines during the events. If you're not familiar, Burning Man is this week-long art festival. It's in the middle of the Nevada desert where there is no water, no electricity, there's no money involved. You have to pack everything in and pack everything out, and you do it all via radical self-reliance. And at Self-Care is Sexy, we are all about that. Self-care is a radical act of self-reliance. You are your own responsibility. You have to take care of you first at Burning Man, or you could really end up hurt or dead, So after a week in the desert, being totally self-reliant and, working on this exploration and enjoying that experience, all the things all at once, one thing that all burners have to deal with is re-entry into the default world. They've got to come back from that. You go out, you go to this festival, you're looking at incredible art, you're eating when you're hungry, you're sleeping when you're tired, you're socializing when you feel like it. You're really on your own clock. And then when you come back into the world, that is, get up at this certain time, get to work by this certain time, be in traffic for this amount of time, where there's constriction and parameters, there's this thing called re-entry. And that's what I want us to think about today as we're going through our little plan here about re-entering society. Most of us, our worlds have completely changed over this last year due to COVID-19. And now things are seeming like they're getting back on, like, quote unquote normal. They're starting to get on track. Things are starting to open back up. I've seen people out at bars. I noticed that the lights on the fields were open. My coffee shop is taking cash again. Things are changing. Things are definitely re-emerging from the slumber and, the kind of sort of sequestering that's been happening as a result of this pandemic. And as we are re-entering, I really want us to focus on taking care of ourselves through that. So, first of all, number one, you have to, before you re-engage, so before you start getting right back into your social life and going out and doing the things and all that business, you have to decide your level of involvement. And yes, I know that's kind of a throwback to, Fight Club. You decide your level of involvement. And it's true. You got to know what you want, how much you want to interact, scheduling it. You've got to think about decompression time, quiet time, those kinds of things. So really, before you jump back into full on going back to work, getting on the bus, going out to the clubs and doing whatever you do and interacting with human beings more consistently, you have to decide what you're really ready for and be mindful of that. Most likely you've spent a year in pretty isolated circumstances, whether you live with somebody or not, whether you've been, social or not, whether you've had, a chance to interact with people safely or not. No matter what, it's definitely going to ramp up. You're going to increase your level of interaction very soon. And you have to decide, how much do you want to increase it? Is that good for you right now? And that's really hard to deal with because of FOMO. And if you have any, if that's something you deal with or you're trying to get through, we have another show on that. You can look it up. Number 2, as we start re-entering society and re-engaging with one another, you have to develop your own protocol. Make sure that you set yourself up for success. You have to make your own rules about interacting, wearing your mask, thinking ahead, like, are you going to go inside of your friends' houses? Are you okay eating indoors? All those kinds of things. You want to be smart about your protocol and about what you're doing to protect yourself and keep yourself safe. Even if you are vaccinated. And I am one of the fortunate, lucky people that I've been vaccinated. I've been vaccinated for a while now. And it's given me this sort of sense of peace of like, okay, I know I have the antibodies, so if I get it, I will most likely live. It does not give me any kind of peace about spreading COVID. So you have to decide, like, as vaccines become available to everybody and then it becomes choice, you have to decide what's going to work for you. And that has to be done beforehand, before you engage and before you start socializing, so you don't get caught in a situation where you have to defend why you're doing what you're doing, which is really good practice as we get back into things. If you're coming out of COVID quarantine and we're starting to interact again, and you come up against other people who have a problem with whatever decision you make, whether you're wearing a mask, whether you're not going indoors, whatever your protocol is, whatever your level of safety is, if somebody confronts you on that, I am of the opinion and of the mind and encourage you to do the same. What you do to protect you is nobody else's business. And you have a right to say to them, like, no, thank you. Your opinion is not warranted here. So make sure that you have your own plan in place when it comes to safety protocol. Make sure you have all the information that you need to make smart decisions to take care of yourself. And you can find that at the CDC.com. CDC.gov. Number 3, okay, so as we re-enter the floodgates of social life, make sure that you still make quiet or downtime a non-negotiable. And there's something I really want you to know. I feel like this needs to be said, and this might not come over very well, but just hear me out here. Nobody gives a shit when you decide to make you the priority. This whole show, the whole premise of my show is giving you permission to put yourself first. That's our motto at Self-Care is Sexy. And I try to convince women all the time, make yourself your own priority. And I get a lot of feedback via email and our WebEx meetings and stuff like that, where it's like, I would, but there's somebody, my husband, my spouse, my kids, my job, something won't let me. Something is preventing me. And I want you to know that you have to get out of your own way, and in addition, you have to stop telling yourself you're such a lousy person because you want your own quiet time or alone time, or you just don't want to be at your spouse's like beck and call all the time. That's a great time to set that, practice boundary setting. Intentionally work on not talking yourself out of making you the priority. So if you need a nap, you need a 30-minute nap, and you think in your mind, oh my God, if I take this nap, my spouse is going to be mad, the kids are going to be mad, somebody's going to be mad. And the truth is, the reality that I want you to really internalize is that nobody gives a shit. You are telling yourself that you can't take a nap or you can't have a down day or alone time to kind of prepare yourself for failure. And I want us to remember that as we're entering society and we're re-engaging our schedules of chaos and craziness, we amp it back up again. You have to make your own downtime a priority, no matter what. Stop telling yourself that you can't. Stop telling yourself that somebody else is going to make it hard on you. That is just an excuse because you're not figuring out what self-care is for you. All right, number 4, as we re-enter the world and back into these social events and, re-entering our friend circles, let's treat ourselves like our own best friend. Please, friends. And, not just like the basic, like I'll text you every once in a while, BFF. I mean, like, let's be our own Tiffany Haddish and girls trip. Like, I got your back no matter what. Even if you're wrong, right? Like, you have to start really treating yourself differently. You have to become your own best friend. You have to start practicing trusting yourself that you have your back. If somebody calls you out on your safety protocol, or if somebody, when you re-enter your social circles, flicks you some shit about what you did or didn't do during COVID, or what you have or haven't accomplished, or whatever, you have to be in your own power and stand up and say, oh, that's a bunch of horseshit. And I will lend you that confidence until you have it for yourself. Because when you are your own best friend, when you are taking care of yourself, when you are giving yourself that grace that you would give your friends, you're really starting to get to the heart of self-care, which is that radical self-reliance. I can trust and I know that I always have my own back. It makes you invincible. And as we re-enter society and we restart everything back up, I say, let's wipe the slate clean, really re-enter this world again in a different headspace where we completely support and love ourselves and no longer allow anything that doesn't serve our well-being. And I mean that. Last but not least, on my 5 ways to re-enter society after COVID, I want you to make yourself the number 1 priority today. If you are new to my show, if you are new to self-care in general, or you've been beating yourself up for a really long time, it's time to get to work on practicing making you the priority in your life. And although it sounds like work and it sounds hard and, I don't want to uncover emotions and yada, 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 I promise you it's not that big of a deal. All you have to do today, right now, no matter when you're listening to this, no matter where you are, no matter what your circumstances are, I want you to figure out, because you're smart, you can figure this out. I have faith in you. You are a problem solver. You're a badass boss. You can get this shit done. I know you can figure out how to make you the priority today. I know you can figure out how to work your schedule so that you can get a nap if you need. How you can rearrange things, leave the dishes, fuck the laundry. I don't care. Whatever it takes. If you need some downtime, if you need a Netflix day to yourself, if you need some soothing, if you need to go on a hike, if you need to take time away from work, doing nothing, having nothing planned, figure out how to make you the number 1 priority and what you want the number 1 priority. Close off every other responsibility that you have to do. Let everything fail and focus solely on what you need to do to take care of you, and all of those problems will take care of themselves. I know it to be true. All right, I'm going to go over that list one more time. Number 1, decide your level of involvement. Number 2, have your own safety protocol in place. Number 3, make your downtime a non-negotiable. Number 4, treat yourself like your own best friend. And number 5, practice making you the priority today. All right? I know you can do it. And, as things start to open back up and we start